Hello, everyone. Ron Gerber, CEO of Angelbeat. Glad to bring you this video blog interview with one of our top Microsoft speakers. Bala has presented at Angelbeat events for years. He always gets the highest marks. He's one of the top AI data specialists within Microsoft, a role that's obviously changed greatly over the years. What I want to do in this session is let Bala introduce himself, give you a better understanding of his background, and then focus on three specific issues. First, helping all of you understand in an interactive way why you should use Microsoft powered by OpenAI for your generative AI applications. It's somewhat analogous to why you don't necessarily just want to use the Linux kernel on your own. You need some enterprise-grade services on top of that. That'll be one subject. We'll hear Bala share insights on how you can protect your data. So when you're deploying generative AI, you're training it for your own internal use. It's not getting out there in the public internet where it could, what's the right word? Enforce, enlarge, improve a public model, a public LLM that could help a competitor. And the third thing, even if you do all those things right, how do you make sure the output of your generative AI solutions is ethical, it's responsible, which is a key issue, even if you do those first two things right. So Bala, let's start right into those three areas. What's your background? And give a little bit more insights into why you should use generative AI with Microsoft as opposed to just OpenAI.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ron, for having me here. So my name is Bala, like Ron was alluding to. I played the chief architect role in our Midwest org within Microsoft. My background is mostly in data and AI. I do have manufacturing industry, retail, pharmacy industry backgrounds, working across over like 2.5 decades now.
Okay.
Predominantly, my job has been always innovating new applications with customers, which are focused on applied science. So my focus has always been on building applications that what matters to the business. So a lot of business applications, a lot of process based, or a lot of new innovative digital transformation is what I work a lot on. That being said, in the past year and a half, it has been like the GenAI tsunami has been going on. So most of my predominant 90% of the projects I work now is all in the GenAI space. Now, OpenAI, GenAI, why Microsoft, we'll talk about that. But eventually, all whatever models that you want to use, the model is just it's only a one piece of your puzzle in your
Sure.
entire application stack, right? So I always look at an application stack and see like how to benefit and what tools to use. The best thing is to pick the right tools for the applications. Then it's always been a success. But if we just choose tools based on our own own wish or own bias and own comfortable, then we will end up having issues later when it starts scaling and things like that. So majority look at scale and security and can you grow your application as and when the business is growing is the three things that I always look at, which is
So,
why, yeah,
yeah,
which
so
is
it's
why
important
Microsoft.
where when people tap into using you at Microsoft, you've got that ability, the 20 plus years of experience to understand, okay, here are the priorities. Well, maybe you should focus on this one as your first proof of concept because this will have the greatest likelihood of success. It's somewhat analogous to, well, look, when Microsoft, the big focus was in Azure, let's move your Exchange on-prem email to Microsoft 365. That's the lowest hanging fruit before we're worried to make an extreme analogy before we move your mainframe to the cloud. And that's where your expertise comes in very handy and useful.
Correct. Yes. And also always, I mean, Microsoft has a huge, like more than like 4 decades of experience in running enterprise applications, right? And if you look at our history, security is first principle when it comes to Microsoft. Like we put security in everything, and we are very cautious about it. investments are huge in the security portfolio. We even have our own security products now with the Copilot mingled. Now, I'm going to touch base with a few things. When you talk about Microsoft, you will, I mean, probably are hearing about copilots. Copilot is one aspect of it. Copilot is considered like a already pre-built solution that you can consume. That is one end of it. The other end of it is like if you want to build your own copilots in a company, take even for Ron, like I was showing a
Yeah,
sample like yesterday, like we built that in Copilot Studio. If you want to build your own Angelbeat Copilot, that is not something you can buy at this point. Maybe in future it might be, but what you can do is like you can use our Azure uh, portfolio of products. Like Azure is an open cloud. It's not like Microsoft proprietary cloud. You can
yeah,
bring in your own Linux, and if you want to run it in a bare metal, or you can actually use our PaaS services. If you're going to cloud, the benefit of the cloud is only starting from PaaS. If you bring in IaaS, don't treat the cloud as a data center. To me, PaaS means you have some burden that Microsoft takes care of it. They do the patching, they do the security in the OS level, they update the OS, and they manage all those things. If you're coming to just as a data center, then you still have to bear all the responsibility. So the ROI may or may not work out.
sure. So,
Platform as
so
a
one of
service. Yeah.
so one of the key things when people are looking at this in terms of the first point is that sure you can theoretically just do everything yourself with OpenAI and read the blogs and try and understand these APIs. The advantage of working with Microsoft as you're looking at your strategy versus just one of the other LLM models is the built-in focus on security. By the way, it's not just security, it's governance, it's privacy, and be able to have customized solutions for you that are pre-baked in to
Yeah.
ensure that your information is protected.
Scale is one good, one
Sure.
important thing that you
Yeah.
come to Microsoft for, and then operations, right? I mean, you built your application. Now you have to make sure that you can monitor with security and actually figure out like what's going on. And based on what's happening, you can actually either add features or improve your features and make it better for customers. So the lifecycle management is a key component for any application, right? So all those are baked in Microsoft, especially in Azure. If you come to that cloud world, so it's not a very proprietary cloud and all. It's a very open cloud. We do have our own PaaS services that we manage, but then we also provide you all the surrounding. Like we also provide easy tools to build your application. So, for example, if you want to build your own Copilot, you have either the Copilot Studio or the prompt flow, right? So we also provide you development tools. Now, on top of it, Ron, you touched upon a responsible AI. So this is an area that very keen for most of the AI development because the models are generative in nature, so it's not discrete or you cannot say like you have to do this every single time. It's not like repeating itself, right? So in those cases, we do provide tools and we do provide guidance. We have documentations on how our customers can actually implement responsible AI just to be safe and be a trustworthy for their own customers, right? I mean, not only Microsoft, but we also want our customers to enjoy that benefit, and we provide the tools. We also provide the process and guidance on it, how they can actually implement it, and we both can benefit out of each other.
So in a sense, when you're looking at this architecturally, all Gen AI is or LLMs is just another application that's basically running in Azure and the Microsoft Cloud. And that's a little simplistic view, given all the buzz around AI. Obviously, there's many other things that work and that go on the Microsoft Cloud, but that's how everyone should look at that in the same way as you want. Like, no one wants to build their own AI data center on-prem to do this yourself. You can't. I mean, AI, the only reason why AI works and why it works so well with Microsoft is you basically have access to a mainframe on steroids in the cloud, and anyone has that to make these generative AI systems work. So I think that's one key takeaway. When people are listening to this, you're in any kind of reasonably sized, even a small enterprise, you really need to not pursue these solutions directly with the LLM models yourself. You really need to deploy this directly within a Microsoft for all the security, compliance, privacy considerations. It's too sensitive, and you want to make sure you do it right. I think that's the first key takeaway. And again, the other thing, when you've got experts like Bala helping you, the other thing to keep in mind, all these generative AI models work because they still have to access data from your silos, from your databases. They can still use the public LLMs, but you still need to train that to use a new AI term based on your information. So it's got to tap into your databases, your data warehouses, your data lakes, et cetera. And you have to do that in a secure way. You have to be aware of the performance. So if you're working within the Microsoft Cloud directly, there's lots of those benefits as well. Could you maybe then touch a little bit on, even if organizations doing that correctly, how do they make sure that the output is not only cost effective and quote unquote correct, but also ethical, responsible? I know that's a key differentiation of how Microsoft is deploying AI and a key concern for many organizations.
Absolutely. So we can cover that in multitude of ways. So when it comes to ethical nature, we provide you tools in our prompt flow where you can actually evaluate and validate and see how your model is performing before you start going and using this in a production environment. That is the biggest key. Now that will depend. That will tell us whether for the particular use case, do you want to fine tune? There is a concept called fine tuning, like you can bring your own data and add few adjust the weights to respond in a certain way that you guys want. That is also possible, and for that those also you need GPU high tech computes, which is another thing that you can come and get it from Azure when you need it. You don't have to put the big investment on buying GPU and setting up the entire infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Now that is one way. The other way is also we also provide you guidance on the prompt engineering, how to safeguard hallucination, and how to direct the model to say, like, respond in a very polite and a positive sense, and don't get angry or don't get crazy and cuckoo and things like that. We we also have a best practices around that we also showcase to our customers as samples that we have tested over time. So there are multiple guardrails that we can actually provide you. And also remember, when you're doing an enterprise application, our security model is governed by your security when you're in your own enterprise tenant, which means the if you use the OpenAI model, or even if you're using like the Llamas and Anthropic or Desi or whatever that we have a whole suite of open source models from Hugging Face available in Azure Machine Learning to be deployed, and you can use it, including Mistral, including Llamas and things like that.
Oh,
Now, all these models are frozen in time. Um, Keep this in mind. These models are only used for development, not in the copilots, but the development model are frozen in time, which means even if you pass in a data, that data is going in runtime, and it is coming out. And after the transaction is done, the model has no clue that what data you sent. So behind the scenes, there is no caching, and we don't keep the conversation going behind the scenes at all. All these APIs are designed to carry the conversation every time you send it. So it's all like asynchronous transaction processing. So that is why Azure, I mean, especially Microsoft and Azure and all makes it very sense for business to have the peace of mind saying that, okay, I'm sending in the data, but this is not getting stored and it is not actively learning. So that's why if you ask current information, the model won't have current information. It's only trained at a certain period of time. Now, there's a reason why they introduced a retrieval augment generation. They call it the RAG pattern.
Yeah.
It's basically the simplest way is to use your own data to make the model more efficient and provide information in within that data that you are sending it in. Um, and you can put some guardrails on it. There are some mitigation steps in prompt engineering that we can do and evaluate the model before your application is getting going because we do provide evaluation framework for testing for coherence, groundness, and accuracy. And actually, relevancy is the most important metrics there. Some people call it like the toxic and all. And also, on top of it, we don't stop in there. We also have our content filtering APIs, which Microsoft built in. They based on our own experience, we built a content filtering AI service. It's a separate AI service that actually looks after like for hate, harm. We call it abuse management, like anything that the text going in and the text coming out. You can put these APIs in front of it and say like, hey, if I'm asking something that I'm not supposed to ask you, it will filter it out and it'll say like, okay, it won't even go to the model. It'll filter out in the content filter and say like, no, you're asking something that we are not able to respond to
Yeah.
you, right?
So it's
Um,
interesting when you listen to that, taking all these great things. This is why when all of you out there in the Angelbeat community are figuring out what to do, it's tricky. And there are all these new three-letter acronyms like RAG, all everything in IT, it's got to be a three-letter acronyms, so that's the latest one that we talk about our Angel Lead events. But the important thing when you summarize this, when you're looking at deploy this, all of you need to talk to experts like Bala. You need to figure out what to do. And when you hear terms like guardrails, that's a justification why you continually need to have human intervention. You're not going to have AI itself put AI generated guardrails on your AI platforms. That's where you need human beings to define this, to understand the tools out there. And then you decide how these guardrails operate. You decide how you want to architect. You work with experts like Bala. Okay, we're going to use, let's say, this public LLM, but all the training and all the knowledge and expertise that's developed is going to stay within your system, within your firewall. It doesn't get shared.
correct.
That's why, again, if you're working with Microsoft, you make sure the output's secure, you can monitor it, but that learning doesn't go into the public LLMs. Again, it's that architectural design. It's so critical that as you're deploying AI, it raises the importance of getting these human defined guardrails in place to make sure everything is correct. And the good
100%.
thing, yeah, I mean, the good thing about Microsoft, you hear many Microsoft speakers say they eat their own dog food. That's one of the analogies they say. Microsoft being, I don't know, 200,000 people, they can test out these things like prompt engineering when people call in for Microsoft 365 support. How do you deal with these various tiers of support? When can you deal with that in an automated fashion? When do you need to reassign those queries to human intervention? And it just gets better and better. And I think, in this day and age, everyone gets a little bit frustrated when they do call customer service and they have to go through these bots, but it is a fact of life. And when you look at that as a corporate directive, you can make these Microsoft powered bots designed correctly. So it actually improves the customer experience, not when you speak to someone, which may sound good, but they quite honestly may not have the knowledge that if it's programmed correctly through guardrails, through technology like RAG and with Microsoft expertise to get it right.
Yes. And also, the one important aspect I would like to share is like picking the right use case also matters.
Yeah.
Because I mean, LLMs are not like the. I mean, it's not. It cannot do everything, right? In language sense, it can do a lot of, especially the large language models can do amazing tasks, like multiple tasks it can do. The small language model can do few amount of tasks very well also. So the use case that we pick, if that use case actually fits with the large language model, we have seen success after success. That's also another key aspect that the enterprise should look at.
Got it. And I think, the key takeaways from this, everyone hears all the buzz every morning about Gen AI, and this is only going to get more and more prevalent. The key things that all of you need to be aware, this is my own personal recommendation, I think Bob would agree, you don't want to simply go to the LLM models directly for any kind of enterprise-grade solution. Something analogous to, you don't want to necessarily just do Linux on your own. It just doesn't make sense. So that's the first premise, that you want to use experts. You want to make sure that your decisions on how you deploy this are based on not just technology, but business, and tap into expertise. And Bala is one of literally thousands of people at Microsoft who have worked in data, worked in AI for years, and they know how this can all work together. You've also got the incredibly important role that human beings will continue to play in architecting solutions and deciding when the guardrails are appropriate. There's a whole new world with terms like RAG, with prompt engineering, that require human intervention to get it right. And learning about that, for all these technologists who might be listening to this, it's going to force you to get more involved in the interaction with customers, more involved with the interaction with employees. And these are all the kind of use cases where automation can make the organization much more efficient. And quite honestly, when you develop that expertise, it's a great career enhancing move. I mean, whenever I go to Angelbeat events, I say, we want your organization to thrive, and we want to make sure we share with you insights and experts to help you personally get promoted in your career. So if you follow advice from Bala and you come to Angelbeat webinars, you will be well equipped to succeed personally and organizationally. Anyhow, Bala, always a pleasure speaking with you. Really appreciate these insights. Remember to go to angelbeat.com to see our upcoming programs, share this video with your peers. And if you want to get in touch with Bala or any of his experts, Bala's, as he mentioned, is in the Midwest, but has contacts, expertise across multiple industries, across the global landscape of organizations. He works with many global entities based in the Midwest. And we at Angelbeat, you can go to Angelbeat, we'll be glad to put you in touch with Bala and make sure that you get experts from Microsoft to understand your situation, give you recommendations on best use cases, and also lay out, okay, here's what you need to be individually, and here's your role as human beings to set up guardrails to ensure responsible AI, secure AI, all those good things. Anything else, Bala? I learned a lot, and I hope it was also beneficial for everyone watching this. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure. Thank you.